Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session of the YASED Sustainable Development Best Practices webinar series. As you all recall that we started this series in 2021 to show the best practices around the world in the field of sustainable development, like the companies' operations that are aiming to make our world a better place and also our jobs, our works more efficient. And it is good that all the things that we carried out to this program are feasible, doable, replicable, and these best practices are guiding all our network to improve their efforts in the sustainable development domain. So today, in the wake of the COP31 that is going to take place in Turkey this year, we have great guests from Novonesis. We are very pleased to welcome Mr. Mayank Jain, Senior Marketing Manager and Head of Strategic Intelligence at Novonesis for the Middle East, India, and Africa, and he's leading the strategy and market development across bioenergy and industrial sectors. Mayank Bey, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And also Arda Bey is with us, Public Affairs and Communication Manager at Novonesis MENA region, focusing on regulatory frameworks and enabling conditions that support investment and scale in biosolutions and the circular bioeconomy. So Arda Bey, it is always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Serkan Bey.
So, Arda Bey, let's begin by informing our audience about Novonesis. Though our network know you very well, it is better to recap. Please tell us about our distinguished member Novonesis, your footprint, global footprint, core focus areas, and particularly how you position your portfolio in Turkey. We would understand at the end of the day the Novonesis's global strategy and where Turkey fits in it in terms of efforts. The floor is yours, Arda Bey.
Sure. Thank you. Well, first of all, of course, I would like to thank YASED for hosting this session as part of Sustainable Development Best Practice webinar series and for bringing together the private sector, investors, and public stakeholders around such a timely topic. My name is Arda Onkök, and I lead public policy and communications for Novonesis in the Middle East and North Africa, as Serkan Bey said. Very briefly, Novonesis is a Denmark-based global biosolutions company formed through the merger of Novozymes and Christian Hansen. We operate in advanced biotechnology and industrial biosolutions, supporting low carbon production, efficiency, and sustainability across food, agriculture, energy, and industrial sectors. In Turkey, our journey spans more than 40 years, actually. Our presence began in the early 1980s and has steadily evolved from commercial operations to a strong local organization with technical laboratories and applied biotechnology capabilities. Over time, we established our Innovation and Technology Center, expanded into flour and dairy analysis, strengthened regulatory and marketing functions, and most recently completed the integration under the Novonesis brand. Today, we position ourselves in Turkey as a long-term partner to industry, contributing to green transformation, industrial competitiveness, and export-oriented growth. Through our local technical expertise and customer collaboration model, we aim to translate global biosolutions into tangible performance gains for the Turkish market. Biosolutions have an important role to play in supporting green transition, circular economy ambitions, food security, and net zero pathways. These are the priorities of Turkey as well. In this context, we also share the excitement around Turkey's upcoming COP31 presidency, which creates an important platform to showcase scalable, science-based solutions. So today's discussion focuses on bioenergy and biofuels, which are increasingly central to energy transition debates, not only from a climate perspective, but also in terms of energy security, competitiveness, and investment certainty. Across regions, governments are looking for solutions that can be deployed at scale, deliver measurable emissions reductions, and work within existing industrial realities. So in this context, biosolutions serve as practical enablers, rather than requiring entirely new systems, they enhance efficiency and flexibility within existing value chains, whether by expanding feedstock options, improving yields, or lowering carbon intensity. So we are particularly pleased that today's session will draw on India's experience, which offers a concrete example of how policy ambition, market scale, and technology deployment can come together in practice. Of course, this is not about transferring models, but about sharing perspectives and reflecting on enabling conditions that may be relevant across different contexts. So with that, I will hand the floor back to you, Serkan Bey, and to my colleague Mayank, who will share his expert perspective on bioenergy, biofuels, and India's experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this great introduction, reflecting the agenda of today. And then we are going to move forward with Mayank Bey's experience. So, Mayank Bey, to start from a global perspective and your area of expertise, how is the bioenergy landscape is evolving today, and what are the main driving forces?
Thank you for the questions, Serkan Bey. So firstly, I think it's important to define the scope of bioenergy. So bioenergy is a form of energy derived from organic material that makes up the plant, also known as biomass. And what constitute the modern bioenergy? Few examples, important examples are ethanol, biodiesel, biogas, and then the latest one being the sustainable aviation fuel, also called as SAF.
Yes.
So to your question, across regions, we are seeing consistent momentum in the adoption of bioenergy. Importantly, we are seeing that it is moving from being a niche renewable solution to a strategic pillar of energy transition. And just to give certain region-specific examples, ethanol has scaled up significantly in the United States, Brazil, of course, India, which we are going to cover in the later half of the discussion. Biogas is becoming a very important decarbonization tool across Scandinavian countries, Central and the Southern Europe, as well as in China. India is also taking up its leap of faith when it comes to biogas. Sustainable aviation fuel. It's being led by Europe right now, but I guess it's going to be very relevant for all the countries across the globe. So if I have to just put this into perspective in numbers, I'm just quoting now the International Energy Agency's numbers. Modern bioenergy currently is the largest source of renewable energy globally, and it contributes roughly 6% of the total global energy supply, which was extremely low if we talk a couple of decades back, right? So it has gone up in terms of its share in the overall energy space. What's driving this growth? Of course, the primary thing is the decarbonization across transportation, industrial uses, heating applications, but it is also with the need to deliver sustainable, equitable, and resilient growth. And since we are talking about COP, I think the net zero commitments under all these frameworks, including COP, are a clear manifestation that the countries are moving towards bioenergy. So if I have to just summarize quickly, we are witnessing one of the strongest global adoption waves of bioenergy in many decades.
And what you are just describing is really suggesting the bioenergy is no longer a niche climate tool, but increasingly part of the broader institutional and geopolitical strategy. And that shift seems important. We are also hearing from our member base the greater importance of these areas. And especially by every COP, we are kind of comparing the success of the COP meetings compared to the emissions used for bringing together all these people to one specific location. And whenever we think about it, we think about the sustainable aviation fuel and other things that you mentioned in your opening remarks. So yeah, just to inform our audience more about what we are really thinking about in terms of tangible products, why are biofuels increasingly seen as a strategic tool beyond the decarbonization? Can you touch upon that aspect a little bit?
Sure. So I think it's a very critical question. As I said, I think decarbonization is central to this entire movement. But I think there are also a lot of additional strategic drivers which are shaping the bioenergy space. The first one being energy security and resilience. There has been, of course, a lot of volatility in the conventional fuel markets, which have pushed the government to prioritize domestic storable energy sources. So biofuels reduce import dependence and also exposure to the geopolitical shocks, which is, of course, an issue that is pretty relevant for the import-dependent economies, energy import-dependent economies. India certainly is one of those examples. I guess Turkey is also. So I think it's become very, very critical. The second part is the overall economic and rural development, which increases the job creation. Biofuels, as I said, converts a lot of agricultural crops, residues, waste into energy and valuable co-products. This creates local value chains across agriculture, waste management, and various downstream industries. So globally, one of the estimates suggests that there are more than 4 million jobs which were created in this particular space. And that particularly highlights the role of bioenergy as a very powerful tool for job creation and income diversification for the rural population. The third one is very interesting because decarbonization in the hard to abate sector is not easy. When I say hard to abate sectors like aviation, shipping, heavy transports, industrial heat applications, where electrification cannot alone deliver the full decarbonization. And that's where bioenergy brings in a lot of complementarity to the portfolio approach, if I may say so. And lastly, part of the globe has moved to the biofuels options, which have become matured and are also opted by the consumer even without subsidies. So let me give one example. Brazil is one of those examples where consumers routinely choose between ethanol, blended fuel, or gasoline. There are three options, and it is purely run on the market economics and not mandates alone, right? So that demonstrates that with the right policy certainty, biofuels can also compete on their own merits, even without the lot of handholdings. So again, I mean, if I have to just summarize this, so bioenergy is no longer just a decarbonization tool. Of course, this is important, the primary focus area, but it is one of the solutions that can simultaneously address energy security, economic development, and job creation. So that's been our experience so far.
Yeah. And Mayank, they all cover what policymakers consider about doing anything in the energy sector. And also these spillover effects are extremely important for every economy. So until we reach to a market, as you pointed out, like Brazil, where the market is operating by itself, the most important thing maybe to highlight how to get there. And India is a very good example in the development of the biofuels. Would you please tell us this transition and the policy choices that made it possible to have today's market in India?
Absolutely. So India's case is a unique case, and it's unique just like any other country's case, right? So, and that's the beauty of bioenergy as a pathway. And if I have to say a few words about India's approach, so the transport decarbonization was approached as a portfolio strategy, right? What I mean is do the electrification wherever possible, use the gas wherever possible, and focus on biofuels where liquid fuels still remain essential, right? So it was almost like a portfolio approach that India took. So what were the key drivers? I think that's pretty critical for our discussion right now. So first was the clear long-term policy signals. India's bioenergy journey was not new, right? It was still a couple of decades back. India started its ethanol blending program, but it's only in the last 10 years that the government made it a strategic sector of choice. And that changed quite a lot of things. When I talk about the policy signals, one of the thing was ethanol blending targets moved from E10 to E20. That also created a lot of investment certainty. To ensure that there is a viable private capex investment, the government using the oil marketing companies, which are the buyers of ethanol, enabled guaranteed offtake agreement at specific price points, right? And hence India, of course, reached 20% mark 5 years ahead of its original schedule, which reflected its unique scale, its agrarian realities, as well as the fuel demand profile. So that's part one, which is the long-term policy signaling, right? But then uh, the world, of course, does not move always only with the policies, right? The policy needs to be implemented, and that is the very important part. The government was extremely flexible with making adjustments. So the policy flexibility kicked in, which means that India did not allow the use of grains for ethanol production for a very long period of time. However, in the later part of the years of the program, they allowed damaged grains, rice, surplus rice, and corn, which was not intended for human consumption, not fit for human consumption, also into the feedstock available bucket. So that enabled that led producers to look at or diversify their own feedstock baskets. I think that was very critical. Government also pitched in to ensure that the feedstocks are available basis on the weather patterns, crop sowing, harvesting, and storage situations. So there are folks in the government who really look at all of this data, tie all of this together, and then release what kind of ethanol would be procured in every year, right? So that's a massive intervention. Governments also ensure that there is a continuous productivity improvement of the grains, so that again we do not get into the debate of whether it should be available for food or fuel. And for that matter, maize or corn, which is not a staple food for India in that sense. But the productivity after the government's intervention in the past 2 years, the corn's productivity has risen by 20%, which is again a record. So this year we had a record production of corn. Of course, that's a massive achievement. So by doing that, what government has done is that every point in time there was an intervention to ensure that all the bottlenecks are removed in terms of policy implementation. And I think the last point, which is the public-private coordination or alignment. So there was a very strong alignment in different government stakeholders, like the ministries, the oil marketing companies, which are the primary buyers, the technology providers, meaning the EPC players, etc., and all the agricultural stakeholders. That de-risked the early investment and enabled the rapid scale up. And then government made the oil marketing companies as the anchor off-takers, which provided assured demand for ethanol. Right? So in general, I mean, if I have to just quickly summarize, it was a clear coordination of policy ambition, deployment, certainty, and the technological readiness. All of these things came together for the success of this program.
Actually, you just summarized the ingredients for a successful implementation of a public policy that might be implemented in any other industries, but thank you very much for these details. And if you can just come back from this best practice and your global perspective from the Turkeys, what those translate as the opportunities in Turkey, or maybe other emerging comparable economies, where do you see the strongest immediate opportunities for bioenergy and biofuels, so that we can have enough traction to build on those policies and replicate what is best for the industry?
Yeah. So as I said, every country's pathway is unique, but then there are certain principles which will be constant across the board or in all the journeys that we have seen so far. The policy ambition, which combines with continuity, right? What I also mean here is that it's not just about building the targets or having the aggressive policy ambition, but also the confidence that the policies would not be reversed or diluted mid-course, because then it ensures that the commitment remains intact from the private investors. And in most of these programs, the role of private investment and the capex is critical. Long-term offtake and pricing support or guarantees, especially in the early stages of the life cycle of any bioenergy pathway. I think that's pretty important for de-risking. And then the gradual phased scale up. It's not that we just need to start with X. We can still go half the X, learn, optimize, and reduce the cost over a period of time so that the journey becomes even more sustainable. What are the near-term opportunities for emerging markets, developing markets who have a very clear focus on sustainability? I think a market like Turkey, right, which has a established ethanol setup, right? There is a clear headroom to scale through yield improvements, lower carbon intensity, and better byproduct monetization. And that could also enable higher blending targets, right? What I also mentioned that it could also be gradual scaling up of the mandates. The second one, of course, is biogas. Turkey already has a significant number of plants installed. And it offers a clear pathway to reduce imported gas dependence while supporting the rural income and waste management. And most importantly, I think, as you also mentioned, Serkan Bey, that sustainable aviation fuel is a talk of the town. And there is a clear policy mandate, global policy mandate, that there needs to be a 5% blending by 2030 for all the international flight operations. So it's a clear opportunity available for the country. And the critical design feature is that most sustainable aviation fuel projects are required to have domestic production, anchoring the local demand and improving the bankability. So Turkey has a jet fuel demand of over 6.5 million tons per year. So even a low single-digit SAF target would translate into a very meaningful absolute volume, making it one of the most attractive pathways for investment, especially in this hard-to-abate sector.
Okay, thank you so much for this global perspective and its local implementability. When it comes to the product, actually your company or your products are the catalyst for the end result. So maybe if you can just step back and talk about how what kind of role do the enzymes and biosolutions are playing in enabling bioenergy and biofuels, of course, at the scale that you mentioned. Can you give us a little bit technicals about it?
Sure. Biosolutions are performance enablers. They improve yields, they widen the feedstock flexibility, lower operating cost, and reduce the life cycle emissions. So if I have to use a very non-technical language here to describe what do they do, biosolutions are typically the operating system of any bioenergy pathway, right? So policy sets the goal, infrastructure provides the hardware, enzymes are the operating system that determines how efficiently the plants run. And without upgrading the operating system, adding more hardware does not deliver the full value. Right. So biosolutions, including enzymes, microbes, yeast, all of these are part of that operating system, if I can say so. And across all the pathways that I've spoken of, which includes ethanol, biodiesel, or biogas, the biosolutions help lower the life cycle emission, improve the plant's reliability, and unlock the scale without building new infrastructure. So it's one of the most sustainable way to produce bioenergy, and by doing more with what's already available.
Okay. And whenever we are talking about the available technologies and what we are actually doing in the market, we are always talking about the advances and the future improvements that are going to make our lives easier for each industry and sector. So you mentioned about the feedstock availability, the heterogeneity of the material, the conversion bottlenecks, and the carbon intensity challenges that the industry is facing now in the bioenergy processes. What can we expect from the future? What are the spikes going to come that will help us to improve our efficiencies in dealing with these production processes?
Yeah. I think what you mentioned clearly, right? So feedstock variability is a challenge. Every country has its own unique feedstock base. Brazil has a lot of corn, a lot of sugar. United States has a lot of corn. India has a lot of rice, corn. Southeast Asia and parts of Africa have a lot of cassava. The beauty of biosolutions is that it works on all of them, right? In fact, one plant having all of them together can also be, the biosolutions can enable the production, a very efficient production. So essentially, it stabilizes performance across the raw materials. So I think that's number one. And there are a lot of developments also happening in the backdrop that will enable even more of these feedstocks to be processed. Just to name a few, a lot of agricultural residues which are today not used or just left unattended in the farms, they can also be used to produce advanced ethanol. So that's one area which we are expecting that it would grow as the aviation fuel requirements, sustainable aviation fuel requirements grow. Because it is pretty low carbon. In fact, in some cases, it is net negative in terms of the carbon intensity. From a process bottlenecks point of view, enzymes yeast, they improve the overall conversion efficiency. So you produce more from the less, and that again goes back fairly well or aligns pretty well with the sustainability ambitions. So from ethanol to biodiesel to renewable diesel to the biogas, we are seeing that there's a lot of shift which is happening towards feedstock variability and towards the modern bioenergy. And I can also share one example from the ethanol space.
Please.
So in ethanol, enzymes are a core efficiency lever, and they improve the conversion yields. They protect margins in a very commoditized segment, and allowing plants to handle variability in a crop quality while reducing the energy and chemical intensity. So as I said, there's a vast scope of using the biosolutions in this particular space, and we are just growing. We are just sort of starting this journey, right? So there are a lot of new developments on the way.
Mayank, thank you very much for all the information you provided. It is such great insights from a developing industry which has already produced some successful results. And I'm sure that everyone is just curious about the implementability or replicability of these processes. This is why we are also curious about what is the magic of it. And you are extremely clear about how it happens and putting emphasis on the predictability and the solid public policy aspect of it, and also the technologies and supporting the research. And what you're actually proposing is a big ecosystem that is creating many spillover effects in all aspects of the economy, touching to the employment, touching to the excess foods that are not utilized. And we are really sustainably using all the resources, including the human resources in the process. So thank you very much for all the information you provided. You have a great website that we went through. It is very informative. I'm sure that our audience are going to go through it and come up with more questions to you. And Arda Bey, thank you very much also for being with us today and for making this possible. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Serkan Bey.
A pleasure.
And for our audience, these program series are going to continue with an increased intensity as we approach the COP. And we are going to rebrand the initiative as the best of the world operating in Turkey and exported from Turkey, because many of our member companies are exporting their sustainability best practices from our country right now. And we want to create an opportunity for them to become more visible in the global scale. And this COP is going to bring us this opportunity. So thank you very much for being with us today. Stay tuned. We are going to come up with amazing best practices that are making our lives easier and more sustainable. Thank you very much. See you soon.